Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah and let's talk movies. So I think we actually have a pretty good list today. We are still in December of 2021, unfortunately, so yeah, I'm over 6 months behind still, so I really need to start doing these on a weekly basis or something to try and catch up. But let's jump right into it with Spider-Man No Way Home. This was directed by John Watts, who I believe directed the newest 3 Spider-Man movies, that whole trilogy. And this came out in December 2021, definitely saw this on opening day. It is considered a sci-fi action adventure, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Peter Parker is unmasked and no longer able to separate his normal life from the high stakes of being a superhero. When he asks for help from Doctor Strange, the stakes become even more dangerous, forcing him to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. So like most people, this was my most anticipated movie of 2021, and it actually delivered, unlike my most anticipated movie of 2022. If you know, you know. Pretty much this boils down to, if you like Spider-Man, you are gonna like this movie. And this one is a really good example of what you kind of expect the multiverse to be, and what I think the average person expects the multiverse to be. The movie theater experience for this it was just A+. Like, I really hope if you saw this, you got to see this in theaters, and like all the reactions and everything were 1000% what you would expect, and just made the movie that much better. It was just really awesome to experience that with other people. I did hear that they were releasing an extended cut of this movie in September. I'm not sure on the truth to that, but that would be pretty awesome, and I will definitely be going to see that if that is the case. And this movie just also shows that the Green Goblin is still just one of the best villains ever. Like, William Dafoe in this movie is just chef's kiss kind of deal. But this was what everyone was wanting. This was what all the hype was building up to. This is probably one of the movies where the rumors and the theories were mostly correct, and it's just a good time. Like, I definitely want to rewatch this one soon, just because, especially since I haven't been seeing many good movies lately, and I think it would be a really good pick-me-up for that. Next is Noroi, The Curse. This is directed by Koji Shirahashi, who has done a ton of movies that I've never heard of, except for Sadako vs. Kayako, which is the Grudge entity versus the Ring entity. This came out in 2005. It is a thriller mystery horror, and I gave this 3 stars. A documentary filmmaker explores seemingly unrelated paranormal incidents connected by the legend of an ancient demon called the Kagutaba. This is a movie that comes up a lot when people ask for horror movie recommendations, and usually people are talking about how scary this is for them, but I actually really didn't see that in this movie. There are 1 or 2 creepy scenes, but for me, the enjoyment of this movie actually comes from the characters themselves. The MC, Kobayashi, he would just look directly into the camera and just make the best reaction faces, and he was just such a character. Mr. Hori was my favorite character in the movie, and I really just wanted to protect him and make sure he was safe and just be his friend, because that's really what he needed. But I feel like every character that was introduced here was interesting. There was no boring, useless side characters or anything like that. I feel like everyone mattered here. And for me, that's where this movie really shines overall. Next is the French movie, The Advent Calendar. This is directed by Patrick Riedremont. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. He has 3 movies, but I have not heard of the other 2. This came out in 2021 and is a horror thriller, and I gave it 3.5 stars, so still on a pretty good trajectory here. Eva, an ex-dancer, is now living in a wheelchair, unable to walk, when her friend Sophie gives her an old wooden antique advent calendar before Christmas. She realizes each window contains a surprise that triggers repercussions in real life. Some of them good, but most of them bad. Now, Eva will have to choose between getting rid of the calendar or walking again, even if it causes death around her. So I had forgotten that we had actually watched this movie on Shudder on Christmas Day, but I mean, Advent Calendar, definitely appropriate. Like I had said, this is a French language movie, and content warning for sexual assault and animal death in this, so be aware of that going into it. But this is a monkey's paw type story, 100%, and it's done in a very decent way. The main character, that actress, she gave me major Kristen Stewart vibes, and I really enjoyed her character overall, which is funny because all of the side characters were complete assholes. It was done in a way so that we were more sympathetic to the MC, but I didn't really feel like that was necessary. However, it was very heavy-handed to like the point of feeling like a caricature. It was a bit strange, to be honest. But then like the advent calendar itself was freaking gorgeous. Like, I would love that thing, but I would never touch it. So overall, this was a decent movie for what it was. I don't really remember a lot of the scares now that I'm trying to like think back on it. I mainly remember the vibes and the setting and having it be really beautiful. And finally, we have The King's Man, which was directed by Matthew Vaughn. He directed all of the Kingsman movies, as well as X-Men First Class, which I didn't know. And he also directed Kick-Ass, so he has quite a repertoire of movies. This also came out in 2021. This is adventure, war, action, except I only gave this 2.5 stars. As a collection of history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds gather to plot a war to wipe out millions, one man must race against time to stop them. So this one's kind of funny for me, as it is the third movie in the franchise, but I never saw the second movie. I have seen the first movie, which I think is definitely the one that most have seen, probably, and also has the most iconic scene, I think, probably out of the entire franchise. But this felt incredibly slow, especially for a Kingsman movie. And it felt like two stories in one, which definitely didn't help. As it was a Kingsman movie, I was expecting ridiculousness and a fun time, but I really didn't get much of either of those things. And Rasputin, who I think is probably the most well-known character from this movie, is definitely the best part. I think he was pretty prominent on the poster as well, if I'm not mistaken, which, I mean, you can probably see here. But the Kingsman flair just wasn't there, and this just felt very mediocre, especially compared to the first one, which was just so fun. Also for me, there were just some really weird decisions made in this movie by the characters, where it's just kind of like, well, everything you did was just useless. So I think that was a little bit annoying as well. And that's all. There is 4 more movies that I have watched. I feel like I get through these pretty quick, so I might start doing 5 at once instead of 4, but I don't know, I kind of like the format of having a smaller video, especially since my vlogs are a bit longer. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it goes when I look to divide it up again. But anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. It is always appreciated. And until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.